It can be difficult to know what a full marks A-level economics essay really looks like. Throughout my time at sixth form, I never truly trusted my teachers' marking, with some marking way too leniently and others marking way too harshly. In this video, I'm going to take you through a full marks economic essay for my exams last year. Hopefully this way it will give you a good idea of what a full marks A-level economics essay really looks like. For a bit of proof, for those of you that may be a bit skeptical, here's the marking sheet for my actual exam, and as you can see, on the final 25 marker, I got 25 out of 25. So this was the 25 marker I chose for this particular exam. And as you can see, the question reads, evaluate whether the best way to reduce inequality in disposable income is to reduce differences in pre-tax incomes rather than through taxes and welfare benefits. Now the first thing to note, as you can see in my question paper, is that my handwriting in the exam is pretty bad. And handwriting is actually something that concerns quite a few students, so I just want to let you know that's actually not really something to be concerned about. You can look how dodgy my handwriting is here, obviously you're rushing in the exam, and you can see that the examiners were still able to mark it pretty well. But as my handwriting is pretty shocking, and I really doubt most of you will be able to read it, what I'll do is read aloud my answer. So starting off with my introduction. Reducing differences in pre-tax incomes refers to measures such as reducing wage differentials and labour market discrimination. Reducing inequality through taxes and welfare payments refers to a more progressive taxation system and a larger financial cost to the government. This essay will argue that reducing differences in pre-tax incomes is more effective, as it doesn't distort incentives and allows individuals and households to work for their wage. So a pretty standard introduction, nothing really that special here. All I've done is kind of highlight the main points of the question, pre-tax income versus post-tax income, and then talked about what I will argue in the essay. And genuinely, this is all you really need to do in introduction. Define the key terms, discuss the key points, and set out what your essay will argue. So now moving on to my first paragraph. One way that inequality could be reduced via reducing the differences in pre-tax incomes could be via the government providing education and training schemes. This would give individuals in the labour force an opportunity to improve their skills and education. As a result, it is likely to increase the productivity of workers, which in turn will improve workers' MRP. As the demand for labour is derived from an individual's MRP, this policy would increase the demand for workers who have attended and benefited from such schemes. As a result, the wage rate would increase and the quantity of workers employed would also increase. This would lower the gap between high income and low income workers, hence reducing the differences in pre-tax incomes. Now, a very basic point here to start off my essay, and honestly, probably at the time, I was just panicking and kind of writing the first thing that came to mind. As you can see, there's really no evaluation in this point, and it's actually not that great of a point. But this proves the point that not all your paragraphs need to be perfect. You can do some basic points, some basic analysis, to get yourself started in these essays in the exam. So now moving on to my second paragraph.
Another measure that could be used to reduce differences in pre-tax incomes would be policies to reduce labour force discrimination. A short-term solution would be implementing quotas, which has been done in Sweden. These quotas mean that a company has to employ a certain number of individuals from a certain group in a certain position. For example, a certain number of women need to be employed in managerial positions. This would help increase the income of women and hence help reduce the income inequality. A long-term solution would be changing social norms within the work environment. For instance, if more women became CEOs of FTSE 100 companies, this could change the norms of other companies, who may then let go of their prejudices and discrimination.
Again, a very basic point, just bringing in some knowledge and analysis, but no real evaluation. But again, I'm just getting the ball rolling at the start of this essay. Now on to my third paragraph, which really brings in the evaluation to the first two paragraphs. So continuing on.
However, both of these policies may be limited in terms of how effective they are. Firstly, there is a large financial and opportunity and cost incurred to the government for providing education and training schemes. It could be argued that there were better uses for government time and money. Moreover, quotas in the labour force could lead to an inefficient allocation of resources, as it could result in individuals being placed in roles they are not qualified for. It could also result in individuals missing out on positions they are qualified for. In addition to this, there is no guarantee that low-income and low MRP workers will attend the schemes provided for them. For instance, it may be that they are not incentivised to increase MRP due to bounded rationality and hyperbolic discounting. To combat this, the government can make attendance to education and training schemes mandatory. However, individuals may feel as if this invokes on their individual freedom and liberty, hence this is likely not to be effective.
So this paragraph has kind of really saved my first two paragraphs. My first two paragraphs, they're good, I've done some knowledge and some analysis, but I haven't really done any evaluation. Whereas this paragraph is just flooded with evaluation of those first 2 points. And now this evaluation is really the key to getting those full marks in these essays. Evaluate loads and evaluate your evaluation. What I mean by that is, you can see I've evaluated by saying maybe these schemes won't be effective because people won't attend. And then what I've done is I've evaluated that evaluation. I've said, well, maybe we can make it so they have to attend. And I've gone one step further and I've said, Well, let's look if this is likely to occur. Well, people may think it invokes on their individual freedom, so this is not likely to be effective. I've really gone deep on that evaluation, and that is the key to being successful in these essays. Now move on to my fourth paragraph, where I go on to talk about reducing income inequality post-income. So this is going to be talking about tax systems.
Alternatively, reducing income inequality could be achieved through a new, more progressive taxation system. For instance, a taxation system which increases the tax rate for the top bands and reduces the tax-free income, e.g. from £12,500 to £15,000.
As you can see, that makes no sense. I meant to say increasing the tax-free income. But again, you're in the exam, you're stressing, you're rushing, and the examiners know that. So they're not really going to discredit you for making a silly mistake like that in the exam. So don't worry about stuff like that.
This way, the government will still receive the same or similar amounts in tax revenue, but the disposable income of low-income groups and households will increase. However, this policy may not be as effective as it first seemed. The Laffer curve in figure 1 shows why this may not be the case. If the tax rate was initially T1, with a tax revenue of TR1, then increasing the tax rate may actually lead to a decrease in the tax revenue. This is shown as T2 is greater than T1, but TR2 is less than TR1. The first reason for this is that increasing the tax rate for high income earners is likely to increase the rate of tax avoidance. The second reason is due to brain drain. This is where high income earners may choose to move abroad to a location where the tax rate is lower. Hence, the tax revenue received by the government would be lower. It is possible that this could worsen inequality, as high income earners are more likely to be owners of businesses, brackets entrepreneurs. If they decide to move abroad, they will move their businesses with them. This is more likely to happen nowadays in a more interconnected and globalized world economy. This would decrease domestic employment opportunities, and individuals may lose their income, hence worsening income inequality. Furthermore, this policy would expend government resources, as the increased tax avoidance and tax evasion would have to be regulated by the government.
So again, I've made my point and I've just tried to do loads of evaluation. So my point was, why don't we change the taxation system? And basically all my evaluation for that stems around the Laffer curve. It says, well, if we increase tax, that may not actually lead to an increase in tax revenue, and there may actually, in reality, be negative knock-on effects to the low-income groups we're trying to help. Anyway, now moving on to the next paragraph.
Income inequality could be reduced by increasing welfare payments. These refer to payments received by low-income groups directly from the government. However, welfare payments also have a large financial and opportunity cost to the government, as the money used could have gone elsewhere. In addition to this, it could be argued that the increased welfare payments could distort incentives. Individuals and households may no longer have the incentive to improve their MRP and seek a higher wage, as they become dependent on welfare payments.
As you can see, the examiner would have liked a bit more evaluation. They said depends on, and this is so true, I should have done more evaluation here, but again, this didn't really hinder me in the end. So continuing on.
Reducing differences in pre-tax incomes is likely to be more effective in the long run than taxes and welfare payments. This is because training schemes allow individuals to increase their MRP, which would increase their wage. For instance, if a different political party were to be elected, the taxation and welfare payment schemes may be eliminated/altered, and inequality would return to what it was originally. However, if there was a change in political party or an external economic shock, those who have developed the skills, hence improving their MRPs, will still be earning a higher wage and have a larger disposable income. In addition to this, policies to reduce differences in pre-tax incomes are more effective as they are more equitable and hence also more direct. For example, only individuals that take action and attend training schemes reap the benefits. Similarly, it is fair and equitable to reduce labour market discrimination, whereas taxes and welfare payments treat everyone the same, which could be seen as unfair/inequitable.
This paragraph is kind of like a mini conclusion to my conclusion, and I think it starts off with some pretty well-focused evaluation, but by the end I'm kind of drifting talking about fair and equal, when that's not really that relevant, I don't think, and I think the question marks on my essay kind of show that. But nonetheless, this is still good evaluation I'm adding to my essay to bring it up into those higher bands, pushing towards those full marks. And now finally, my conclusion.
To conclude, the best way to reduce inequality in disposable income is to reduce differences in pre-tax incomes rather than through taxes and welfare payments. This is due to the fact that it is more equitable and fair, encourages work over welfare, and doesn't distort market incentives. Whereas taxes and welfare benefits may encourage laziness, where individuals no longer have any desire to improve their MRP. They also carry large costs in the form of government, financial, and opportunity costs, brain drain, and tax avoidance.
So this conclusion, all I do is summarise what my points are saying. I've summarised why I think one is better than the other, and explained that briefly, not adding anything new, but rather just summarising the points I made throughout my essay. So that was it, and the examiner viewed that as a 25 out of 25 mark essay. As you can see, they left a comment saying, a very comprehensive response, covering all three methods with clear analysis, good use of economic concepts, and supported evaluation throughout. And that is all you need to get 25 out of 25 in an essay. Again, this is far from perfect, and I'm sure a lot of you are looking at this thinking, I could write something like that, or I could write something better than that. And it's true, you can. But you have to remember, writing an essay in an exam is very different to writing an essay at home for homework. Here, we've only got 35-40 minutes, there's stress, there's a big clock in front of you, ticking down, etc. But a way to get better at these is just doing them in timed conditions. But the main point here is that it's not perfect. I made spelling mistakes, I made silly mistakes, not all my points were that great, but again, it was good enough, and that's the main point. You only have to be good enough to get those top marks. So that's the end of the video. I hope you've really enjoyed it. What I meant to say was that I've also got other responses showing full mark essays, as well as full mark responses to 15 markers, 9 markers, 4 markers, etc. So please do let me know if you'd like to see some videos of me going through those answers myself. Again, massive thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.